Hello and welcome. I am Akila Bishop. I am a registered counseling psychologist and the founder of Shore Life Consultancy. I am here on behalf of Shore Life and Peak Advantage Framework, the model I use to help organizations build their cultures where people can do their best work. This session is Autism in the Workplace. Right now, someone in this room is working harder than you'll ever see. Not on their tasks, on appearing normal. That is called masking. It is one of the most common and least understood things in the workplace right now. Today, we cover what it means, what it costs, and what you can do about it. Let's start with the word neurodiversity. It simply means that human brains are not all wired the same way. Just as humans vary in height or temperament, we also vary in how we process information, communicate, and experience the world. Neurodiversity is a natural variation. Within that broad category, we have autism, ADHD, dyslexia, and others. Each represents a different neurological profile. But today, we're focusing on autism. The research is clear. Up to 1 in 5 people in the workforce are neurodivergent in some way. Most are undiagnosed, and many have spent years learning to hide it. Autism, specifically, is a neurodevelopmental condition, part of how the brain is built from birth, not something that happens to you in life. It shows up in 3 main ways. First, social communication. Autistic people often process language literally. They may find small talk draining or confusing and communicate in ways that do not match neurotypical expectations. That's a difference, not an absence of social awareness. Second, sensory processing. Things like lights, sounds, textures, smells that are barely noticeable by most people can be genuinely overwhelming. In distribution or warehousing environment, things like machinery, bright lights, and background noise that is particularly significant can cause overwhelming experiences for persons who are autistic. Third, routine and predictability. Autistic people rely on structure and consistency. Unexpected changes aren't just inconvenient, they're genuinely destabilizing. Not an attitude problem, a neurological reality. And here's the key point. None of these are character flaws. They become problems only when the environment doesn't account for them. Here are 3 things you've probably heard and that simply aren't true. Myth 1, you can always tell if someone is autistic. You cannot. Many autistic people, particularly women, have been significantly underdiagnosed. This is simply because they're very narrow profiles for autism, and many people don't seem to fit the description. There are almost certainly autistic employees in this organization who have never been identified simply because they learned how to pass. Myth 2, autism is linked to intellectual disability. It isn't. There are unrelated conditions. Many autistic people are highly capable, analytically sharp, exceptionally skilled, highly qualified. Some are working well below their potential, not because of what they can't do, but because the environment does not work for them. Myth 3. Autistic people don't want social connection. They do. They may seek it differently or express it differently. The assumption that they're cold or indifferent is one of the most isolating things we can do to someone who's actively trying to be involved or to belong. Here's one of the most important concepts of today: the iceberg. Above the waterline, what you see: someone who seems quiet, gives short answers, avoids the team lunch, seems resistant to change. Below the waterline, what you cannot see: the sensory overload they're managing, the mental effort spent decoding ambiguous language, the rehearsed responses before every meeting, the suppressed reactions all day just to appear okay or normal. This gap is masking the performance of being neurotypical. It's learned early, often automatic, and profoundly costly. Below the waterline is also exhaustion. By mid-afternoon, the energy has been gone into trying to fit in, not the job. There's also anxiety, the constant sense of being one wrong step away from exposure. Below the waterline, you'll also find burnout. When masking is sustained for months or years without support, the system collapses. It can look like sudden disengagement. It can look like resignation without explanation. It is almost entirely preventable. Here are 4 numbers to hold on to. 1 in 5. Up to 20% of the workforce is neurodivergent in some way. In this organization, that is not a distant possibility. Those people are already here. 85%. That is the rate of unemployment or underemployment among autistic adults globally, not because they aren't capable, because environments weren't built for them. Plus 32%. Psychologically inclusive teams outperform by nearly a third. This is not a welfare argument. It is a performance argument. 5 to 8 times. Autistic employees are that much more likely to leave an organization where their needs go unmet. Replacing one person costs 50 to 200% of their annual salary. That is the cost of inaction. In your warehouses, your admin teams, your distribution operations, these numbers apply. The people these statistics described are working alongside you now. This part often gets skipped, and I refuse to skip it. Let's talk about what autistic employees bring that workplaces are actively looking for: precision and accuracy, an exceptional eye for detail, errors, and deviations from standard. In quality control, compliance, or distribution, this is gold. Pattern recognition, identifying trends and anomalies others miss. Valuable in data, operations, and process improvement. Deep focus and expertise. When engaged in meaningful work, an autistic employee can develop mastery at a level most people simply cannot sustain. Rule adherence. In safety critical or regulated environments, the person who follows protocol precisely and consistently is an asset, not an inconvenience. Now, the challenges are real. I'm not saying the challenges aren't real, they are, but I want you to hold this framing. Most of the challenges autistic employees face are structural mismatches. These are mismatches that exist between how the person is wired and how the environment is designed. Sensory overload. Sensory information such as lights, noise, and smells that are ambient for you may be genuinely overwhelming. A warehouse or open plan office can be a real sensory barrier. Unwritten social rules. The expectation that people will just absorb the culture from being in the environment, that they'll know what to do, when to speak, and what casual Fridays really means is these are invisible rules and they're not easily known or understood by autistic persons. Ambiguous instructions. Use your initiative. Just do what makes sense. For someone who processes language literally and needs explicit direction, this is genuinely meaningless. Change without warning. A rescheduled meeting. A process change announced by email. A new line manager starting tomorrow. Advance notice and clear communication costs nothing. It can easily be done and alleviate a lot of these challenges that autistic persons experience in the workplace. Here are two scenarios that may sound familiar. The literal communicator. A team leader says, keep an eye on things while they're away. The employee observes and reports, nothing more. The team leader returns frustrated, but the employee did exactly what they were told. Clarity is not condescension. It is actually good management. The quality obsessive flags errors no one else catches, stops processes to double check, perceived as slow or obstructive, actually doing exactly what a quality critical operation needs and being penalized for it. And these are not problems to manage, they're assets being misread. Well, let's look at what you can do. Here are 4 things managers can do. Give explicit written expectations. Say exactly what you mean. This is not micromanagement, it is clarity, and it improves performance across your whole team. Notify of changes in advance. Even a day's notice matters. If you can give more, say so. If you can't give more, say so and explain why. Allow sensory flexibility, such as use of headphones, noise reduction headphones, a few minutes in between back-to-back meetings. Build it in. These adjustments are small, their impact is not. Judge performance on outcomes, not on whether someone laughed at the right moment or came to the staff party. Here are 4 things for colleagues. Take answers at face value. If they say they're fine, believe them. If they say they're not, take it seriously. Don't push for the performance to be emotionally displayed. Don't force social rituals. Keep inviting, but respect a no without commentary. Repeated pressure over time becomes an environment people leave. Ask for preferences, written or verbal, direct or group feedback. These are not complicated questions. They are evidence of someone paying attention. Recognize that quiet focus is not rudeness. It is a different way of being present. It takes practice to stop reading it as personal. It's not personal. And for Brighton Stokes, here are 4 things. Write clear, specific job descriptions. Vague role profiles filter out the very people who might be your best hires. Have structured onboarding, written step by step, not expecting that persons will automatically come in and just absorb what are the rules. Provide access to quiet workspaces, a corner or a rotation policy, a quiet room. What it communicates is this organization knows that not everyone works the same way. And create a culture where disclosure is safe. Most neurodivergent employees do not disclose because the cost feels higher than the cost of masking. Change that through policy, through leadership, and through conversations like this one. Let me close with a message. This is a message I need you to take back to whoever makes decisions for your organization. Inclusion is not a welfare program. It is a performance strategy. Organizations with inclusive cultures are 1.7 times more likely to be innovation leaders. They report 32% higher team performance. Deloitte research shows inclusive teams outperform peers by 80% on team-based assessments. These are not marginal improvements. They're structural competitive advantages. And on the cost side, the 3 rows on the screen tells it plainly. Turnover. Retaining an autistic employee who needs reasonable adjustments is drastically cheaper than replacing one who leaves because they couldn't sustain the mask. Lost capability. The workforce spending energy on fitting in rather than doing the job is operating below its potential every single day. Across the globe, more and more, there's a growing legal and reputational risk. Failure to make reasonable adjustments for neurodevelopmental conditions carries real legal exposure in most jurisdictions. As we become more aware of neurodiversities, we can expect to see policies being there to protect these individuals. And the next generation of workers, your future talent pool, will choose organizations based on what they stand for. Not getting this right is not a neutral position. It's a choice, and it carries a cost. I want to leave you with this one thought. Organizations that understand different minds don't just become more inclusive, they become more effective. Inclusion is not about making space for people who can't cope. It's about building environments where every type of mind can contribute what it is actually capable of. The person in this room who's working harder than you will ever see, they don't need your pity. They need a clear brief, advance notice, a sensory environment that isn't working against them. And the same standards apply to them as to everyone else, along with the same reasonable adjustments their neurotypical colleagues get without asking. That is what today is about. Not charity, not compliance, performance, and the kind of culture that deserves the people it is lucky enough to have. Thank you.